Patience is a virtue that can only be cultivated in moments of impatience. Today I'm at the Riverdale Park. It's a beautiful day. And I really feel called to talk about patience. I feel like it's something we all need to cultivate a lot more, especially in these days, in these times where the technologies that we've created are preventing us from cultivating patience because we no longer have to cultivate patience. Convenience is always at our fingertips. We don't even have to do a Google search anymore. We can just ask AI anything. We can have our groceries sent to our door. We don't have to wait for a taxi. We can call an Uber. We don't have to watch a long video on YouTube. We can just watch hundreds of short videos and just scroll through them. We don't need to have patience anymore. We don't need to develop patience. And I think that seeps into our relationships because we also don't have the patience to form and develop meaningful relationships in real life. At the first sign of toxicity, at the first red flag, we've normalized ghosting someone. We've normalized breaking up with someone or no longer being friends. Instead of listening to someone talk and trying to understand them and putting in the time and effort to get to know someone, we would rather have something that's more convenient. We would rather stay single or just have acquaintances or just have casual relationships with people. We no longer have the patience to commit and deepen relationships. We no longer have patience with ourselves. At the tiniest bit of discomfort or pain, instead of being patient with ourselves, instead of giving ourselves grace and the space needed to feel those negative emotions, to have those negative thoughts pass, we numb ourselves, we distract ourselves with our screens. We don't even have the patience with ourselves. But it's those very issues, those very problems, challenges, obstacles, pain points that will allow us to cultivate patience. Instead of flinching away from, avoiding, running away from anything that might make us uncomfortable or impatient, we need to lean into that. We need to lean into the discomfort. We need to lean into the pain. We need to lean into that moment in order to meet whatever is facing us with patience and an open mind. Anything worth having requires patience. Creating a business requires patience. Having a fit and healthy body requires patience. Having a long-term, meaningful, loving, supportive relationship requires patience. Moving to a new country, a new house, a new city requires patience. Anything that is built from the ground up requires patience. Even being in a job and getting a promotion requires patience. Literally anything that is worth having requires patience. Health, relationships, success, money, wealth, anything. And I really understand the struggle. It's not like patience is easy to cultivate. It's not. If it were easy, we would all be super patient. It wouldn't be any trouble, right? Patience is difficult to cultivate and develop. Even if you cultivated patience for a long time, even if you consider yourself a very patient person, there are moments where your patience is very, very thin. So it definitely isn't easy, but it's also necessary. Personally, my patience is tested daily with this content creation journey because, as I've mentioned before, my channel isn't progressing as fast as I would like it to. And that's a test of patience. I have to cultivate the patience and develop the patience every single day and film videos and create content regardless of how frustrating it feels to not see the fruits of my labor, right? And basically, I'm working for free. I've been working for free for almost a year now, and I have yet to see the fruits of my labor. I have yet to see any reward for doing all this work. So I've been putting all this time and effort and energy into something with no guarantee of success, with no guarantee of reward, with no positive reinforcement, and it's tough. But it's an opportunity every day to cultivate and develop patience. And I'm hoping that all this patience I have cultivated and developed will reward me someday with the kind of impact and influence I'm hoping to have. So regardless of what our goals are, regardless of the destination we want to reach, all our desires require patience on the journey because we don't know how long the journey will last. We don't know how long it will take to see progress. We don't know how long it will take to be rewarded for our efforts and time and energy. It kind of reminds me of the analogy of the two paths. You know, the path that is well-traveled, that leads to the destination in the shortest amount of time. It's the quickest, easiest route. It's the path that most people have chosen. It's the most convenient path. And then there's the path less traveled that not many people choose to go on because it's a longer route. It's a more scenic route. It takes more time, but it's also the more beautiful path. It goes through winding, beautiful landscapes, and you take the long way to your destination. And in a way, those two paths represent how you approach life. Do you want to get things done quickly, in the most convenient way possible? Do you only care about the destination rather than the journey? Or would you prefer to go down the path less traveled, the scenic route, the longer route, because it gives more joy and meaning? Because even though it takes longer, it's worth it. Because patience is an acceptable cost to experiencing a more beautiful, peaceful, joyful life. If we're not careful, our lack of patience will be used against us. And we can see that with social media apps, with YouTube. After TikTok became a whole thing, Instagram and YouTube also hopped on the bandwagon and created Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, and even Facebook. And before, when you used to open YouTube, you would be met with the homepage that had long form video suggestions, and you had to deliberately and intentionally choose which video to watch. Now, when you open YouTube, there is no homepage that is automatically opened for you. The first thing that is automatically opened is YouTube Shorts. So even if you intended to open YouTube to watch a long form video from a creator you are subscribed to, you are met with YouTube Shorts. And once you're met with YouTube Shorts, it's really hard to resist, and you end up scrolling YouTube Shorts and completely forgetting why you opened YouTube in the first place, which was to watch a long form video instead of hundreds of short form videos. So our lack of patience is used against us to make us even more impatient. Convenience begets convenience. Impatience begets impatience, and in the same token, patience also begets patience. When you start cultivating patience, you have the patience to consume and interact and experience more meaningful things. And then you might start to notice that patience seeping into your relationships as well as yourself. You might start to notice that you're more actively listening to your loved ones. You might realize that you have the patience to ask questions and be there and understand and empathize with people. You might realize you have the patience to work through issues or differences in opinions with your friends, your loved ones. You might realize you have the patience with yourself to sit with uncomfortable emotions and thoughts instead of avoiding them and trying to numb them. Obviously, there are situations where patience isn't the best option, where patience isn't a virtue, like in situations where there's abuse or violence or stubborn hatred or greed. In those situations, it's much smarter and safer to protect yourself instead of, trying to be patient and working things out. So obviously there are exceptions to when to be patient, when to cultivate patience, but generally speaking, as long as you're safe, as long as the people you're interacting with are open-minded and at least somewhat flexible, then patience is definitely something we should cultivate. But in any case, generally speaking, I think as a society, we need to cultivate more patience so that we can actually learn to live with each other, so that we can actually learn to live with ourselves and foster more meaningful relationships with other people, as well as a healthier and more loving relationship with ourselves. And in most cases, patience is rewarded with more joy, more harmony, more peace, more love. We can't cultivate or develop patience when there's nothing to be patient about, right? We can't cultivate any skill or develop any skill, including patience, if we don't have opportunities to do so. And those opportunities always come in the form of challenges, obstacles, uncomfortable situations. If you're trying to learn a language, you can only develop your speaking skills in that language if you put yourself in uncomfortable situations with native speakers and force yourself to practice that new language. It's going to be uncomfortable, but those uncomfortable moments are the opportunities to develop and learn skills that we need or want to develop. And that includes patience. That includes patience. So we really can't avoid opportunities to develop patience. If we try to avoid opportunities where we can develop our patience, we are also avoiding opportunities to develop meaningful relationships, to experience meaningful things, and to live a meaningful life. So in order to live a meaningful life, full of meaningful relationships, we need to lean into the uncomfortable moments, the challenges, the obstacles that test our patience, so that we can overcome all those obstacles and challenges and be rewarded with more love for yourself, more love for others, beautiful experiences and memories, all the good stuff. Yeah, so that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and checking out my other videos. I would very much appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Take care. Bye.